Welcome to Moon and Fire. I'm Emily Bailey, founder of Whole and Wild, where I guide women back to their sacred wisdom through ritual and cyclical living. I'm creating this sacred space for your whole self to be here. Your wisdom, your longings, your shadows, and your fierce power. This is a podcast for women who sense there's more depth, more magic, more of their untamed essence waiting to be remembered and unleashed. Welcome home, sacred woman. Let's begin. Today I want to get into a topic that is really close to my heart because I've struggled with it and pretty much everyone I know has struggled with it. And that topic is burnout. I actually love talking about burnout because I feel like a few years ago, probably about actually 8 years ago, I really stumbled upon this truly transformative way to consider the concept of burnout and do something about it, really alchemize it into something that is distinctly more powerful, distinctly more true to our essence than living in this violent cycle of overproductivity and worshiping the constant doing. I want to start by reading a quote that really sparked this shift for me. And this quote is by Parker Palmer. He actually has a Quaker background, and he has background of research is from the education field. So this is from his book, Let Your Life Speak. And it's just a quote that really changed things for me. So if you have a moment, I want to actually invite you to take some time to actually listen to the words that I say in this space. Maybe even close your eyes. One sign that I am violating my own nature in the name of nobility is a condition called burnout. Though usually regarded as the result of trying to give too much, burnout, in my experience, results from trying to give what I do not possess, the ultimate in giving too little. Burnout is a state of emptiness, to be sure, but it does not result from giving all I have. It merely reveals the nothingness from which I was trying to give in the first place. When I give something I do not possess, I give a false and dangerous gift. A gift that looks like love, but is in reality loveless. A gift given more from my need to prove myself than from the other's need to be cared for. When the gift I give to the other is integral to my own nature, when it comes from a place of organic reality within me, it will renew itself and me even as I give it away. Only when I give something that does not grow within me do I deplete myself and harm the other as well. For only harm can come from a gift that is forced, inorganic, unreal. I want to give you a moment to just let that land because it is a different take on burnout. And I want to be clear that I'm not here to blame you if you're feeling burnt out and coming here for some sort of solace. I'm not communicating to you that, you're to blame and, get your act together and move on. But what I do want to say here is that there's something about being attentive to what we are giving and where it's actually coming from, and if it is real and organic and growing within us. So here's what I want to invite you to do. I want you to take a piece of paper and divide it in half. So make a T-chart, basically. And on the left side of the paper, I want you to write the words, what I have to give. And on the right side, what I do not have to give. And we're going to just take a moment to make a list. So right now, I want you to tune in. We're going to take a moment and just connect with ourselves. So take a deep breath. Put your hand on your heart. Maybe one on your womb space. wherever your body's asking to feel connected. And allow your breath to be the vehicle that moves you consciously into connection with those spaces in your body. We don't want you to be a brain on a stick. We don't want you to be a separate body. We want you to be an integrated, connected being, which is true to who you are, the soul that you are. I want to invite you to feel connected to your heart, the feeling part of you, to your mind, the planning, analyzing part of you, to your body, the moving, knowing part of you, to your spirit, and everything in between. And when you feel connected, I want you to look at that paper. I want to invite you to consider, in this moment of time, in this season, this time and space, what do you absolutely not, we're going to start with the right side, not have to give? What are things that you just don't have to give right now? I know for me, I'm in a season where my littlest son is almost 2 and he is busy, and there are some things I don't have to give because of my commitment to how I want to show up with him. So I do not have travel time to give, right? I don't have the capacity because of what I'm choosing, how I'm choosing to show up with my son. I don't have a lot of travel opportunity, and that's fine, right? But that is absolutely something that is not available in this season. Another example might be energetically, what do you not have to give? So I do not have the bandwidth to interpret your sarcasm right now, right? Which means what I have to give is clear-cut conversations. I do not have unboundaried time to give. I need to schedule right now in this season with whoever I'm meeting with so that I can honor my other commitments. For someone, it might be, right, a different kind of way you show up in physical spaces. I do not have physical touch to give. That is not something that is flowing organically from within me right now. Yeah, just feel into this. Feel into what you don't have to give. What feels like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to show up for that. And when it comes into my realm, when it comes into my zone, my space, I just feel annoyed or frustrated, or it just doesn't align. And I just want to acknowledge, I don't have that to give right now. So go ahead and write that down. And we're not asking about things that you don't want to receive from others. We're specifically saying, what do you not have to give? So it might even be, I don't have dinner. I don't have the capacity to make dinner in this season. Or I don't have the capacity to make dinner every week, right? Or every day of the week. But I want you to really consider, where are the places where you sense the feeling of being stretched thin and giving something out of obligation rather than overflow. And then once you've done this exercise and really gotten a few solid things, at least 5 or 6 on your list, I want to invite you to move to the other side, to the left. And I want you to think about, what do I have to give in this time? What are the things that feel like they're just flowing from me right now? I know for me, one thing that is just starting to really leap out of me and longs to be given even more space to thrive is my art. I am an artist, so there's an artistry that I desire to proliferate. I desire to create in this world and to bring it more into the realm of visibility. Maybe something you don't have to give sparked something that you do have to give, right? So notice the interplay between these two things. When you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something. And when you say no to something, you're giving space to say yes to something. So notice, what are the things that you feel like, I do have this in this season. In this season, maybe you do have phone call presence to offer, right? Maybe you long to be connected to some friends who live across the country, and you desire conversation over the phone, right? Like maybe that's something you have to give in this time. Like there are all kinds of things that might show up in this space, but I want to invite you to energetically connect with what feels like a yes in your spirit, in your body, in your mind. Those are the things that are growing organically within you. So go ahead, continue your list. And if you're listening to this, you can pause it. If you're driving, maybe pause it and just consider as you're going, like, what are the things that just pop into your mind that feel like yeses, that are growing organically within you. And once you've got both sides of these lists populated, what I want to encourage you to do is really consider, how does that align with the current reality of your life? Like in this current reality of your life, are you giving from the places that you just named as organically growing within you? Or are you trying to give out of what you don't actually have to give? Like, this is a straightforward question. When it comes down to it, it's not super complex. It makes it pretty straightforward and simple. Like, do you have to give what you're trying to give? That's the first question for you. And it's a challenging question because the reality is it has consequences, right? It's one of those, I can't unsee it now that I've seen it type things. So if the truth that you need to recognize to yourself is that I have been showing up in my world trying to give what I don't actually have to give, there's a second question there, right? And the second question is, what would it look like for me to start saying no? What would it look like for me to stop giving what I don't have to give? And there's something incredibly powerful in that question because it challenges you to trust. It challenges you to trust that what you actually have to give right now is what is needed right now. And that all of the other demands that are coming in, that are constant, that are being asked of you and expected of you and have become normal, probably, in your world, that those may not be the potent, most prioritized medicine for right now. And so this comes back to trusting our cyclical nature. This is a reminder that the truth is, if you live in season, right? It's like fruits. Like we can tell the difference between fruits and vegetables that are in season and those that are out of season. It's the same concept here. Are you giving fruits out of yourself to the people in your life that are actually out of season or ones that are in season? And what would you receive if you stopped offering that which is not actually growing within you? Let me re-ask that question. What would you receive? I think it's easy to consider this concept of stopping as a fear-based posture, right? Like to imagine it from this perspective of, well, if I stop giving what people expect, I'm going to let everyone down, and there's going to be all these holes that don't get filled, and things are going to fall through the cracks, and people are going to look at me differently. Like they're going to consider me as less capable or less valuable. These are real things that I want you to consider as you're thinking through this. And it's normal, right? Like I want to just say to you, like, this is built into the air that we breathe. It is heavy in our society. So it's not something that you've come up with on your own and you're just living this weird isolated story. No, this is something that we have to overcome as a collective unit if we're going to move through the lie that productivity, constant productivity, is the way that we're supposed to live. And so the second question that I want to ask you then is, what if you trusted that the people around you, the systems, maybe even around you, the family systems, the work systems, the home systems, these systems that you are showing up in, what if you trusted that the people who make those systems up are capable and creative and resourceful, and that if that need that you've been giving and giving and giving to, that you don't have to give anymore, if it's really a real need, someone who has it to give will rise up? What if you trusted that? What if you believed in the inherent creativity and resourcefulness of the community you're planted inside of? And I know this is a tricky question, especially if you are thinking of, parenting and you're a single parent, right? Like, then the question that comes up in your mind might be, well, the truth is there's no one but me, right? It's very easy to feel incredibly alone. And so then I would ask you to flip your perspective into that left side again of the T-chart. And so instead of considering what would it look like for me to stop giving, what's on the right, I want to ask you, what would it look like for me to make space to give what I actually have to give? And this is a different pathway, but it leads to the same place. So if you're struggling with considering how to stop giving what you don't have to give, I want to invite you to shift into the other side of this chart and to think about, what would it look like for me to make space for myself to give what I actually have to give, what I'm longing to give. And I want to come against any lie that might be coming up in you that says, I don't have anything to give right now. Like, that's not real. No offense. Like, I'm going to challenge you to think a little bit deeper than that, because you do have something to give. But as you think about, what would it look like for me to make space, for example, like the one that I shared, for my artistry? Well, making space for something does require that I look around my life and I notice what kind of home I can give that artistry, right? So if you've ever studied habits or starting new practices, one of the most important, well-researched bit of advice that there is out there is, if you're going to start a habit, give it a home. And what that means is create an environment that welcomes it, right? All of us, in the same way that when we show up into a home that is welcoming, that invites us to be there, we feel like we can be expansive. We feel like we can sprawl out. We feel like we can grab the food that's on the counter, whatever it is. Like, there's a deep breath about being welcomed into a space. But when we show up in a space that feels rigid and like, oh, I don't belong here, right? We contract. We don't expand. We don't feel able to breathe deeply. We don't feel able to bring our whole selves. And so my advice in this space is, if you're considering, how do I bring the parts of myself that I've been longing to bring, ask the question, what kind of home would feel welcoming to it? So for me, with bringing art, like the knowing that I have is that creating art for me looks like, at its fullest, looks like me sitting on my front porch in the sunshine with my watercolors and my inks and my watercolor paper, and giving myself space to be connected to nature and feel the inspiration of that and letting the art flow. That's welcoming to my art. So then my next question, right, we're kind of backtracking to create this. My next question would be, okay, well, when can I get some front porch space? Well, You can do logistical things like, let's check the weather. When's it not going to be raining? Or like, okay, for example, my child naps at these 2 times a day. So what would it look like for me to choose to take even 20 minutes, even half an hour of that nap time and go sit on the front porch? Well, one of the things it would take is probably me saying no to something that I don't have to give. Because maybe during that nap time, I'm filling it with things that I don't actually need to be doing constantly, right? But it's asking me to consider, what would it look like to bring my fullness back into the world? And what happens when you honor what is growing organically within you, undeniably and repeatedly, is that something shifts internally, an energy arises, because you as a human giving from an overflow place of your soul is energizing and it's compelling. And so I guarantee you that if you are attentive to the world around you, you will notice a shift. Something will happen outside of you differently because of the way you're willing to show up and give what you actually have to give. And it may not necessarily be something you can logic out, but it will happen. So I challenge you today to notice the magic when it shows up. And so as you're thinking about burnout, and I'm giving you this challenge, this exercise, what I want to invite you to do is to remember that the basis of this is trust. The basis of this is a deep-rooted belief that what you actually have to give is enough for right now. That the medicine needed for the present is already here. Will you join me this week in trusting the current medicine that you have to give in this season of your life? I hope so. It is a stretch, and it is worth it. As we come to the close of our time together, I want to leave you with something that might feel revolutionary in a world that constantly tells you you're not enough, that you need to do more, be more, and give more. What if I told you that what you have to offer right now, not when you're fully healed, not when you've figured everything out, not when you've reached some mythical state of perfect balance, but what you have to offer in this very moment, in this week, is not only enough, but is actually the most powerful thing you have to offer your world. I know this might sound impossible when you're running on fumes, when you feel like you're barely keeping your head above water. But here's what I've witnessed again and again in my work with women. Your medicine often emerges not despite your struggles, but because of how you've learned to navigate them. The woman who has walked through burnout and emerged with fierce boundaries, she carries medicine for others who are drowning in overcommitment. The woman who has learned to honor her cycles after years of pushing through, she becomes a beacon for others seeking their natural rhythm. The woman who has chosen rest as a radical act, she gives others permission to lay down their armor too. Your current offering doesn't have to be polished or perfect. It doesn't have to come from a place of having it all figured out. In fact, some of the most powerful gifts we share come from our tender places, our raw edges, our honest struggles. What if you shifted into belief that your presence is enough? Your presence itself, exactly as you are today, is medicine. That your willingness to show up authentically, to speak your truth, to offer what you have rather than what you think you should have, is exactly what the world needs from you right now. This isn't about lowering your standards or settling for less than your potential. This is about recognizing that your worthiness isn't contingent on your productivity, your perfection, or your perpetual availability to others. Your value exists because you exist. So this week I invite you to practice showing up believing that whatever you have to offer is a gift. Maybe it's a gentle no when you would usually say yes. Maybe it's sharing your story of struggle instead of pretending everything is fine. Maybe it's simply being present with someone in their pain because you know what it feels like to hurt. Trust that when you show up from this place of believing your offering is enough, is sacred, is needed, something magical happens. Not only do you stop depleting yourself, trying to be something you're not, but you create space for your authentic gifts to emerge and touch the world in ways you could never have forced. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too much or not enough. You are a woman remembering her sacred nature, reclaiming her natural rhythms, and learning to trust that her presence is her power. May you rest in the knowing that you are already whole. May you trust that your authentic offering is sacred medicine. May you show up believing that what you have is enough. And may you remember that the world needs exactly what you came here to give. Remember the sacred cycles. Reclaim your radiant fire. Unleash your intuitive magic. Thank you for being here, sacred woman. Until next time.